Without objection.
Yeah, my name's Burton of Indiana.
Mr. Burton of Indiana.
Fellow with gray hair.
Madam Speaker, you know, some people say, well, why are you guys down here every night taking special orders, talking about what's going on? And I'll tell you why. Because we need to make sure our colleagues, I know we can't talk to the American people, but we need to make sure our colleagues, and if anybody's paying attention out there in the hinterlands, know what's going on in this place, because it affects every single person's life in America, every man, woman, and child. I've got a chart here, and this chart shows the money supplies. It's hard for people to see back in their offices, but this is the money supply, and it's been pretty consistent all the way up through, maybe 1995. And since then, it started to rise. That's the amount of money we print, and it's in circulation. And after, just after the 2007 time period, it shot straight up. It's going up like a rocket. Now, what does that mean? It means right now we have created currency in this country that's almost 300% of what it was just a year or two ago. So people say, well, what difference does that make? If you print that much money, well, just, it won't hurt anything. But it does. Because the amount of goods and services, the cars, the refrigerators, and everything else that we produce in this country, that's remaining flat right now because of the economy. And the auto industry is going down. And so we've got 300%, 3 times the amount of currency in circulation, but we don't have the goods and services going up at the same rate. So what happens? That means the cost of everything is going up, and that's called inflation. Back in the 1970s, we had inflation. It was double-digit. It got up to 14%. And that led to 12% unemployment, which is worse than what we have today. And we ended up raising interest rates to 21% because the spending had been out of control, and we had to do something to slow down the inflation. So here we are. We have the money being printed so fast that they can't keep up with it. In fact, I don't know how they buy enough ink and paper down there at the Treasury Department to do this. But every man, woman, and child ought to be concerned about this, because the cost of government and it is going up so rapidly, and the printing of money is going up so rapidly that they are going to have hyperinflation in this country. My colleague there, Mr. Wolf from Virginia, I think he was here a couple of weeks ago, and he had a piece of currency from Zimbabwe, and it was a multi-million piece of currency. They put so many zeros on it, they had to reprint the currency and just take zeros off. They just couldn't keep up with it. Hyperinflation is what they had in Germany post-World War I. That's where people had to take bushels of money to the store to buy a loaf of bread, and every day the cost of everything went up this fast, so that the people couldn't keep up with it. And so what we're facing today is we're facing a government that's spending is out of control. We spent $700 billion on the TARP program, $14 billion on the auto bailout, $787 billion on the stimulus, over $1 trillion if you add interest, $410 billion on the bill that's over in the Senate. We got a budget coming up with $3.9 trillion and a $635 billion down payment on health insurance, a national health insurance program, socialized medicine. Where is that money coming from? Well, we're borrowing it from China. We're borrowing it from Japan. We're borrowing it from other places in the world. We're borrowing it from the Social Security Trust Fund. But even though we're borrowing all that money, you can't keep up with the spending. And so what are they doing? They're printing more currency on a daily basis. And so you see this rocket ship taking off in the currency area, and it is not going to slow down. And what it's going to do is it's going to lead to very high inflation, the cost of living going up, and it's going to affect every family in this country. It's going to affect the cost of education, the cost of gasoline, the cost of electricity, everything else. And so I hope my colleagues are aware of this. I hope they're aware that there's going to be a lot of tax increases as well. They're talking about putting a carbon dioxide tax in place. That's $646 billion in new taxes. And what that means is every time you switch on a light or buy a gallon of gas or do anything that's energy related, you're going to be paying a higher price for it, because we're loading on the back of the taxpayers $646 billion in new taxes. You know, we're spending more money than you can imagine. We're adding to the national debt $12.3 trillion. People can't understand what that is. A trillion is a million. So 12 trillion is $12 million. And we're adding $12.3 trillion to the national debt. And that is more than we've added to the national debt from 1789, when we became a free country, and had our Constitution to today. We're blowing money like it's going out of style. And when I tell people these things, their eyes just glaze over because it's too hard to comprehend. But what they do comprehend is higher taxes, more government spending, more pork barrel projects, and the kind of inflation that's going to lead this country down the road to socialism. And so what we need to do, Madam Speaker, as I end up, what we need to do is we need to cut spending, cut out the pork, and cut taxes, and let the free enterprise system work. I yield back the balance of my time.
Thank you.